Alastair, congratulations. How does it feel coming off a win around the club this week?
Yeah, well, actually, the mood hasn't changed too much. The morale of the group has been really strong, despite the season not having too many victories for us until the weekend. But and that's probably the sign of a good environment at your football club, as you walk in on a Monday and you can't really tell whether you've won or lost. Everything's sort of same sort of equilibrium. But I think the pleasing part from our point of view, particularly the coaching and management of the club, is there's been a lot of hard work done by a lot of people, and finally there's just a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the reward for some of the hard work that's been done. So it was exciting. West Coast, as Melbourne found out 3 weeks ago, they're a hard side to beat over there, and so it was a really strong performance from our group. But it's sort of been building for a period of time, and the big challenge is to take on your mob, the Pies, on Sunday.
Well, Charlie Compton, he's described them as really gettable. Was that the feeling amongst the group? With morale high, five injuries?
Well, we're taking on the reigning premier. I think there might have been a bit of tongue in cheek with Big Chomp when he said that. But listen, we're looking forward to the challenge. It's I reckon there'll be 45,000 or thereabouts at Marvel Stadium against the Pies on Sunday, and really good test for us. The reigning premiers, they despite their some of their list being decimated by injury, real sign of a class side is that they can replace those guys and they just fit into their system really, really nicely. So as we found out, we rate Melbourne really, really highly as a side, and thought they'd, like everyone else, that they'd bounce back strongly from their Alice Springs loss, and Collingwood just were outstanding last Monday, King's birthday day. So we're looking forward to the challenge. We know it's going to be a tough game, and but if we can play something like we did last week, we'll be in the contest, and hopefully it's a great game of footy.
Where do you think maybe you can exploit them?
Well, they're a difficult side to exploit because they're just so powerful right across the ground. But we've just got to play our brand as best we possibly can, and tackle and apply pressure like we did last week. Our tackle numbers and pressure numbers on the opposition, I think we rated over 2, which is really hard to do in a whole game of footy, and we did that for all 4 quarters against West Coast, and that still didn't guarantee us the win because it was right in the balance, with 5 minutes to go. So all we do know is if we don't apply that pressure to Collingwood, then if they've got time and space with the ball, they'll just cut any side to pieces with their efficiency with the ball, particularly guys like Dacos and Sidebottom. Both the Dacos, really Josh and Nick, are terrific players, ball in hand. So but it's the pressure that we've got to apply that disallows those guys to be able to use the ball in the manner they'd like.
Can you just talk us through at the start of training? There were a bunch of kids or fans that were out on the field doing drills with the players. There was one young guy that you were spending a fair bit of time with as well, walking around the field. Who were they and what was going on there?
Yeah, well, the young guy that was walking around the field with us was a young fella, Joshy, who was involved in a sort of car accident. He was a pedestrian on his scooter, and on his way as a tradie, and got knocked over by a vehicle coming down the off ramp of a freeway, in about February, March. So Harry Sheasel and George Wardlaw spent a lot of time with him in his recovery, and and he had a brain injury. He was in a coma for a long period of time, and it's just great to see him back on his feet and at training. So he came into the footy club earlier in the year, and he just popped up at training today. So it was great to see him. And whenever lads like that, especially when our players have made a contribution to their recovery, it's just great to have them connected. And all the Indigenous group were a group down from Bendigo, and where we possibly can. This club is renowned for its earthy values, number one, blue collar, and connection, especially through multicultural. And so, when the Indigenous group came down, it's just like, how can we integrate them into the sort of the quieter part of our training at the start? And they had a ball. They'd mucking around with our senior players, and it was terrific to see them down here. So, a bit of fun.
Just on a couple other notes from training, it looked like Nick Larkey, just for the first bit of the session, trained away from the group with Cam Zerha and Bailey Scott, but I think sort of integrated their way into main training. How are they all going?
Yeah, we just they've had really heavy loads, all those guys. I think Cam might have missed one game thereabouts, but Scotty and Nick have played all games this year, so it's just part of their management, and sometimes we'll do an extended warm up with them on the sidelines before they integrate into full training. That's the way it worked out for them today.
Across town, just a few moments ago, Nick Dacos passed main training and got the tick to play.
That's a bummer.
do you look to, after the success that Alex Neil-Bullen had in the first 3 quarters of the King's birthday match, do you look to maybe have a run with the club?
This is a coach's conundrum because win the battle, lose the war. Neil-Bullen did a terrific job on Nick last week, but they win that little battle, but they lose the game. That was like us, 3-4 weeks ago, we tagged Zach Merritt against Essendon, and Liam Shields did a terrific job. Reduced the influence of Zach on the game, but they still win. So, it'll be horses for courses. He's a high quality player, and his last 5 weeks outside of last week, where he was a bit quieter because of Neil-Bullen, his last 5 or 6 weeks have been some of the better. He's already had a real good career, but his last 5 weeks have just been superb. So we need to watch him. But if we throw a tag on him, it's probably going to throw out some of the things that we want to do ourselves. So we'll just see how it goes.
Teakle, the debut?
Yeah, he's going to make his debut. We've got a young fellow, Will Dawson, who came out of the game at quarter time for us last week. He hurt his shoulder. We were earlier in the week whether that would require surgery. He had surgery last night and will probably miss 4 to 6 games, we think. But so it was unfortunate that young Dawes went out of the game last week, and we were trying him. He played back these first 2 games, and then we were trying him forward last week with the return of Cal Dawson, who went into his spot in the back end. And Bryn comes in and gets his chance. He's only been at our club for 2 weeks, but he's a highly credentialed state league player in the first part of this year, playing for the East Fremantle Sharks, and gets his chance through the mid-season draft, and an opportunity opens up for him, and hopefully he's ready to take it.
How do you prepare him for that, facing Collingwood as well? A rowdy crowd. It's massive.
Yeah, well, it's exciting, but he's 24 years of age. He's played at the level before. He's played half a dozen games at Port Adelaide, and we've got a high regard for the Port Adelaide system. He actually trained at Collingwood over the summer, so hopefully he's got a little bit of intel for us about the Pies and how they go about it, because we need every bit of info that we can get to knock them off. So, we're really excited for him. He's mature body, mature mind now, and probably given that he was wondering maybe 6 months ago whether an opportunity would ever come his way again. Here it is, and not just the opportunity to be on a list, but the opportunity to play against the Pies on Sunday. So I'm sure he's going to try and grab that with both hands.
Did you love seeing Dennis Pagan at training today?
Oh, it's fantastic seeing Dennis. We've had a bit to do with him right throughout the course of the last couple of weeks, really, as we prepare for this celebration of our 1999 grand final victory. 25 years, geez, it goes quick, doesn't it? It was a really, really special era for the club. Great that the Dennis and all the players are going to get the chance to celebrate that on Sunday. But it was really the culmination of, I think North played in 7 prelim finals in a row, from about 94 through to 99, 2000. So it's a really special era, and it seems harsh when I say they only won 2 flags in that era, despite getting to 7 prelim finals, but they're so hard to win. The door didn't quite open for the Kangas in 98 when they were raging favourites, but in 99, Essendon were the raging favourites and got knocked out by the Blues in the prelim, and then North perhaps won a flag in 99 when they didn't expect that they were going to win that year. So all you got to do, and Dennis's great philosophy was just get the top 4 as often as you possibly can, and sometimes the door will open and sometimes it'll shut, but at least you're there and giving yourself a chance. And it's a great message for all our players in our club, and that's where we want the club to return to at some point in time, and we're working hard on that. We've got a long way to go, but our players in our club are inspired by the deeds of yesteryear, and Dennis has been a crucial part of that.
And just personally for yourself, going 416, I think you're coaching this weekend, so I think you passed Reynolds, you got a 10th on the all-time coaches list.
Oh, do I see?
Apparently.
Yeah, well, it's a long time to be involved in the game, but it's a special game. This is a special club. The game's given a lot to me over my journey and my family and all some of the most dearest people in my wife and I's lives have all been connected to the football clubs we've been involved in over the journey. So it's a special place, but it's a demanding environment. The theatre of it all, it's challenging, but it's what we love. And sometimes your greatest strengths are also your greatest weaknesses, which was the same with me over a long period of time. But I just really excited about the opportunity we got here at North to try and build something pretty special. And it's going to take some time, but we're really excited with the path that we're on.
Just back to Dennis briefly, he was saying that one of the greatest memories, he said the best memory that he had from a home and away game in his career was in 1993 when North went to Vic Park, coming off sort of the bottom of the ladder in 92. And pumped them in front of a home crowd. Were you playing that day when Adrian McAdam kicked 9? And what do you remember, I guess, from that time?
Well, I do remember those first 3 games. That was very early in the season. I reckon when we played the Pies. I reckon Adrian McAdam started the season with 25 or 27 goals in the first 3 games. It was something extraordinary. He kicked 10-9-7 or some extraordinary amount of goals. But yeah, that was really special. I can remember playing a trial game here against the Pies at Arden Street right on the eve of that season. Dennis had only been in the job for 3 weeks, and we were walking off at half time. I think we just had our noses in front at half time, and both the races were over in that forward pocket. And as we're coming off the ground, sure, because we've been a bit average earlier in the year, we've been beaten in a Ansett Cup game against Adelaide by 140 points. It was a fair old smashing. And Shorey said to us as we were walking off at half time, geez, where have you blokes all of a sudden grew a heart? But he was right. Our performance against Adelaide was terrible. But in the space of 3 weeks, that's the impact of Dennis Pagan. Just turned us around. And Shorey, right from that early stage of the season, knew that if you're going to play North now, you're going to come up against a pretty fierce and competitive side, and then not too long after, Adrian kicked the bag and helped us knock off the Pies at Vic Park, which was really difficult to do. That was a hard home ground to win at, or away ground to win at, and that was the start of the Pagan era at the footy club, and a really special era it was too.
And what would a win or a really strong performance against? It's a similar type of scenario. In '93, Collingwood were coming off the '90 premiership in that era, and North were coming off the bottom. Maybe it's not a win per se, but what would a really strong performance against a big side reigning premiers?
Yeah, well, we just want to back up our performance from last week, and that's going to be a big challenge because we are playing the reigning premiers, and despite what's happened in terms of a few injuries at their club, they've been able to cope really well with that. And despite losing, I think they lost their first 3 or thereabouts, but outside of that, they've been really, really strong and tough to beat for the last 8 or 10 weeks. So we know we've got our work cut out, but it's a really good test for our players. We'd be buoyed a little bit by the victory from last week, but we know we've got a huge challenge, and just the opportunity that they've got to test themselves again against a high quality opponent, and we'll find out a little bit more about ourselves on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you. Cheers.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Clarko. Appreciate it.